Okay, so people have been asking about how to use and how some people have manipulated and used the Novice packet in their own way, but using still what's only in the Novice packet. So let me just tell you what I kind of do to begin with my class. So the first thing I do is I go over the stock issues, inherency, solvency, advantages, impacts, etc. And then I have the kids actually read through these plans and try to label each part. So I'll take the 1AC plan about a Yemen advantage about things. And it's already kind of labeled that these are cards or evidence that's for an advantage that it will help with Yemen. But the evidence that often is mixed up within there about what it actually supports. Does it support the inherency, the actual problem that's already there, or does it support, an impact and things like this? So what we are talking about here is in this card, according to the tag, it says the Saudi coalition uses U.S. weapons to commit war crimes in Yemen, and new arms sales will be used to directly kill thousands of civilians. So that's sort of explaining the inherency of the problem that we're already arming Saudi Arabia, that we're with weapons, and those are being used to commit war crimes against those things. And so they are, and then the evidence here says that President Trump is preparing to make a emergency declaration to get around to congressional opposition to further arms sales in the UAE. And the step would allow the size up a normal congressional review of dollars and things like this, and expected to come at the week's end. And they're using this loophole because Congress will disapprove, and it's incredibly dangerous precedent. And they're hoping to exploit any loophole to funnel weapons to rain destruction and death in Yemen. I personally am not a fan of, using evidence that sometimes is a little bit biased in that it's in the way it's doing about using inflammatory words like bogus and things like this. However, it's the evidence that we have. So using it appropriately is helpful. So finding the evidence in here that works for you. Just because they've highlighted and underlined certain parts doesn't mean you have to. So you can find the parts that you want to work with. So when I'm setting up my case, I have my kids go through the stock issues. So I'll come over and let's say I'll set up in my drive. Let me go over into my debate drive, and I'm going to set up a new file, and I'm going to copy over and make my own case using the Novice evidence and things like this, and still the plan. So Novice case 1. And I'm going to say, and I start literally with what is expected in a policy case. I start with the inherency. What is the problem? And then in my own words, arms sales to Saudi Arabia have killed and perpetuated the Yemen war and conflicts for the last however long it's been going. I'll say 10 years. And then according to, and then I'll just copy over the card and that I want to use. So let's just say I'm going to do this card. So I'm just going to copy this whole card in of that. All right, but I'm going to unhighlight and underline anything that I don't want to use with it. So I am not going to do this because this is not dealing with the inherency. This is dealing with what's going to happen or could be happening, but it's not there. And so, and I'm going to undo this. However, there is evidence in here that is what I want to have. So I'm going to take out this that does say it. Now, just because say they have underlined and highlighted it doesn't mean that you have to use that part. As long as it's in the evidence and it's what's there, you can use what you want. And I am personally, like this evidence down here, the New York Times reports that continue to study petition attacks on this supporting disguised casualties and things like this, that these supporting this is actually backing it and causing more problems and has created a cycle. So this is the inherency. This is what's actually happening now because of what's going on. So I want to use this part instead. This is just, sorry, wrong one there. I don't want to use that. I want to use highlight color. And then I'm going to make this 14 because I want to read this. So that's what I would be doing. So I am just taking what I want to do to set up the inherency. And then I'll go into, okay, so the plan is, and then I'm going to copy my plan text in there. So the plan, because of the inherency, I'm going to go into this. And then I'm going to say, and then I'm going to go into for my reasons why. And then I'll go into back into my cards here and go, okay, because it will solve this problem because it'll do those things. So I'm now looking for a card that says it's going to solve the problem. So this would be a harm, a thing like this card right here, that 233,000 will die if they don't stop their sales to this. So this would be part of the plan. So I'm going to, the advantages for the plan and why we should do it. And so I just start copying and pasting it. Now, if I find something in another plan that I like for this plan, I can move it over here too. As long as it's in the Novice packet, I can use any evidence from anywhere to where I want it to manipulate from and have it up. And I just move things around and have my kids go through and explain what those cards are doing. And my kids have to read these cards and be able to say into their own words what it is they want. So off to the side, I'll make my kids explain in your own words what this card is saying and how it speaks to the problem, so that they are making sure they understand what's going on and how they're using it, and that it's actually going to the part of the case that they needed to go to. So I'll have my kids literally, run those things out. And I think I just wrote this on that one, and I shouldn't have. So I'm going to remove this. Delete, because I wrote it on the wrong. The case and the study area. I'm sorry. I should do that on my Novice one. Over here, I'll have my kids do that. And make sure that they're understanding what the evidence is saying, how they're using it, how it speaks to the stock issues. If it's an advantage that we're talking about or an impact, how's that card speaking to the impacts? What's the importance of it? How is it going to do that? I'll really just go through all of these cards and all of these things in this case with the kids, and they pick, and they'll label it a T card. Is it speaking to topicality? Is this speaking to solvency? Is it speaking to how it's going to impact the situation? Is it a harm with the inherency of how it's harming, the status quo is harming things? So, and I just copy and paste and move anything around the way it is. Now, this is set up, and your kids could just read through it as they want, as is, but as long as they understand what is they're saying and what it's speaking to, and it can explain it in their own words about what's happening, that's a possibility. I personally like to make sure that the kids know that, we're setting up the problem. What is the problem to begin with? Inherency. Then I go, okay, what's the harms of that status quo within that? Then here's the plan, and this is why it will work. These are the impacts. This is what will happen with the plan. Here's how it's going to impact those things, the advantages, and why it's better than the status quo. And I will set them up and have them organize that and outline that and put in the evidence to fit that wherever it's at. And as long as you're using evidence from the packet here, from the UDCA and the Novice packet, You can use that and manipulate it however you want, and you can do this with anything. Uh, any case, you can do it with any answers. You can pull in your answers into your case in the first place if you want to. You can pull in, in your CP. They have to use these CPs, but you can again manipulate the evidence and move the evidence around wherever it works best for you, as long as it's evidence only used in this packet. And that's what I do. Hope that helps.